Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revived Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Colberg, and welcome in. Let's see, I don't know what day of the month it is. You know, things are a blur, but the life is progressing and things are going forward, and I hope you guys are enjoying your year. Now, it is the new year, so if you're listening to this, it is in the new year. Oh, man, what do I got any updates for you all at all? Let's see here. Well, let's see here. I'm using a fake background, so you'll notice that if you're watching this, that I blur a lot, but you know, who cares? Who cares if I blur a lot? No one cares. No one cares at all, because mostly, actually, people listen to us on Spotify, and I doubt they even watch it. But one of the things I started doing this year is I started recording a story of the day. And let me tell you, that has been awesome. And so the January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, everything, you know, I have been recording like just a little snippet of something that happened during the day. One of my favorite memories was my wife got sick a little bit, and she was upstairs resting, and I had our new baby, and I was rocking her, and she's screaming and crying. I'm trying to get the kids dinner, and everything's just going on and going crazy for all of you parents out there that know this. But then I turn around, and my toddlers just have carrots just sticking up their nose. And my infant newborn girl, she's just crying. My toddlers have carrots up their nose, and I'm trying to find the dip for my chicken wing just to eat some dinner. And if that is to tell you how much like the new year has been off to that kind of start, like it's been really great, but it's also been full of stories, which is awesome. So I encourage you and I challenge you to try to record a story a day, and you will have at the end of the year at least 364, 365, 66. I'm not sure how leap year works in there, but you'll have that many stories of the day. You'll have that many stories of your family that you'll hold on to forever. You know, maybe you only do this 1 year, but I want to try to do it year after year. But it's a discipline and it's a practice, but it is something that's good because when you go back and look at it, you can learn, you can grow, you can just reflect, and I can't wait to see what I do with these stories at the end of the year. My goal here is, what is one thing I can do to help build that legacy that I want? And so if here at Revived, we are helping you guide you to a legacy that matters. And so one of the ways that you can do that is through doing something intentional every day. And I heard the advice of do a story per day, and just gathering stories to tell. But I'm like, well, how can we take this further, and how can we apply it to perhaps a legacy? So I think that's going to take some review and see whatever, like there has to be a common theme in the stories you record. One, I think there seems to be a theme of what stands out to you, of what you choose to record. And then second, I think you're going to find a theme of what's happening in your life. And good or bad, it gives you opportunity to make some changes. So I don't know how the legacy piece is going to work in there. But start recording those stories, and as we go through the year and I start putting some pieces together, you know, I'll share that info. But it's been a great, amazing challenge. And so far, so good. I just have little notes on my phone here. You know, virtual backgrounds, turns out you got to show the back of the phone. But you see, when I look down here, anyway, I don't have to tell you where I look. You guys know the whole drill. So we started and ended. Wow, sorry. If you guys are seeing my hair, I let my kids do my hair. You guys like it? It's kind of frizzy, messy, all that fun stuff. So I let my kids do my hair today. So that was pretty fun. Just laid on the couch. You know, sometimes you're just too tired to care. And you're just like, kids, just put the spray in my hair, start combing it. Honestly, they're not as gentle as a normal hairstylist is, but you know, I'll give it to them. I got a free hairdo thing. But we ended our last episode. We ended kind of the year, started this year, going through the Sermon on the Mount according to Luke. And that was the eyewitness accounts that Dr. Luke, Physician Luke, whatever you want to call him, collected and shared. This was mostly for like a Gentile audience, and also known as the Sermon on the Plain. Starting this new year, and it's probably going to last a good amount of time, I want to start working through Matthew's account, which is mostly written to the Jewish people who have this like deeper understanding of like the spiritual aspect, the law, the Jewish law, and everything from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Covers a lot of the same themes, as you'll notice here, but it adds so many more details that we've missed before. And I want to start unpacking those together and going through the book of Matthew. I'll probably change the graphic so we know we're going through a different book, but it is a continuation of the Sermon on the Mount. It's actually the official Sermon on the Mount. Like I said, Luke's called the Sermon on the Plain. Most of the words are also illustrative, depending on like the audience and stuff. It's pretty deep. Go research it. It's pretty cool. So let me open my Bible here and go ahead and pull this up. It's going to be in Matthew 5. And I've been learning some interesting things already, which has been amazing. The Sermon on the Mount in Matthew starts off just like it did in Luke, going through the Beatitudes. And so if you remember in Luke, there was only a few of them, and then he's followed by woes. In Matthew's account, there are no woes. And I want to find out why. I actually haven't looked it up yet, researched it too much, but I want to find out why Matthew excludes the woes. I think it has to do because of the audience to which Matthew is writing. But you would think that Matthew just captures every word. So now this makes me beg the question. I'm like, did people, since they're eyewitness accounts, did people in Luke, is that what they interpreted? Is basically Jesus said, blessed are you, blessed are you, blessed are you. So therefore, he's also saying, woe is you, woe is you, woe is you. That's the first question that came to my head. But that's just a question that came to my head. I'm not saying that's what happened. Because Matthew, he seems to write down the whole Sermon on the Mount, but he doesn't include the woes. And I find that very interesting. And so I need to keep researching that. I'm a few sections into the Sermon on the Mount with studying it. So I'm not just pulling this open and just flying off what's coming off my brain, because we know that we can really get in a lot of trouble if Stephen just started talking right out of his mouth. Yeah, mouth. So the Beatitudes here in Matthew, let's go ahead and read them together. So it says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Blessed are those who mourn, for they'll be comforted. Blessed are the humble, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they'll be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they'll be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. And then it ends very similar to Luke here. You are blessed when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say things of evil against you. Be glad and rejoice, for great is the reward in heaven, for that is how they persecuted the prophets that were before you. Okay, I didn't realize this, but my notes are on the phone. So think about that for a second as I pull up these notes here. Think about, if you listen to that episode in Luke, think about how similar these two are. Did you hear a lot of similarities in there? I hope you did. All right, so this is kind of what I got from when I studied this earlier, and it kind of what stood out to me. And so we kind of walk away with these. So I took my notes, plugged it into good old ChatGPT, and said, help me understand my notes, but like help me also take into the context Matthew, Greek original context, all this stuff, put it all together, and spit it out like a first grade level explanation, kind of what's happening here with what I'm picking up, what research is showing us, everything in between. So yes, AI I think is a great tool because it really helps a lot. And so, but here's a couple themes that stand out to me. One is be humble. 2, be sad about injustice or wrong things. 3, be gentle and kind. 4, want what's right, crave what's right. 5, be merciful. 6, be pure in heart. 7, make peace. And 8, be brave for God. So that's kind of how Matthew ends. It's like, blessed are you when you're persecuted. And so let's unpack this a little bit. So be humble. God blesses people who know they need him, and they will be part of his kingdom. And so like we did understand in Luke, blessed are the, let me pull up the Bible here. We're going to be going back and forth a lot. See, if you're on the video, you're going to be laughing because I'm going back and forth and got 2 hands and got phone notes, Bible. Actually, can you see both? See, these virtual backgrounds, they're really cool, but you can't really see my props. But I don't know. Like I said, you guys listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and I think there's someone on Overcast. Did I say that right? Is it Overcast? I'm not sure, but you know who you are. Shout out to you. I like you. All right. Oh, that was Luke's Beatitudes. We're not in Luke. Wow. You guys could think I had a whole cup of coffee or something, didn't you? Matthew. All right, here we go. Move my bookmark back to Matthew. All right, so it says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. When you're poor in spirit, it means you recognize that you have a need. And so that's like the be humble piece. And similar to Luke's account, It's addressing that people always saw the Pharisees as they were the ones who were like uppity, well dressed, close to God, had everything together. And Jesus is really addressing here. It's like, it's not just the kingdom of heaven isn't just for the Pharisees and the religious leaders. It's for everybody. You have to have a spirit that's humble. It's like a poor spirit, one that's like in need, like a beggar. So think about a beggar, like they literally stick out their hand to receive what they need. And it's like, if that's the condition of your spirit, of sticking out your hand, it's like, my spirit needs something. Jesus says, blessed are you, for the kingdom of heaven is yours. Like, stick out your hand. Say, I am poor in my spirit, and you inherit the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they'll be comforted. And I like this one a lot, because I realize, you look around at the earth, and I was talking to my wife, I don't know how many months ago, but sometimes you can just look at the world and just be like, you just want to give up hope. You're just like, life is so sad. So many bad things are happening everywhere. Like, we got the fires going on in California. You're just like, what is the purpose? Like, things are just so sad and bad, and I don't know if, like, be sad about wrong. It's like, you can look at the sin and the injustice in the world. You can look at the news and see all the crimes happening and everything. And then you're just like, God blesses people who feel sorry for bad things and comforts them. That's kind of the dumbed down version. I don't know if it's that simple. But I do recognize, I'm just like, those things are just not a part of what God created in his world. So when you're sad about that, you'll find comfort in God. And I have done this, because you start going down that bunny trail of all these bad things, but then you start bringing God into the equation, and then you realize, like, there's comfort because you start seeing these circumstances a little bit differently. At least that's my own personal experience of that. Be gentle and kind. Let's see here. Blessed are the humble, for they'll inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they'll be filled. Where's the meek one? Oh, I don't like this. This version doesn't say it. But one of them is like, blessed are the meek. And the meek is like, it's like your power and control. It's like you have this maturity about you, which I think spiritually mature people can take their freedom in Christ, and like in meekness, like you have all this power, but you restrain it. And I think that's what being meek is. It's power under control. It's like you have the ability to control yourself no matter where you're at or what you say and what you do, because you realize what's around you. That's power. That's meek. It's so easy for us to be like, live your truth, do your thing, like, I'm right, so I'm going to say this, and I have every right to say this. Like, we do this often in America. We always have a right to say what we have to say. But that is, like, very immature. I'm going to call it out on everybody. We do not all have the right to say what we want to say. Like, we do, but it's not the wise, mature, true thing to do. Like, why would you purposely say what you have to say if you know it's really going to hurt somebody? Like, no, that's not right. So you don't do that. Okay? I don't know who needed to hear that. I had to hear it. So, but hopefully that's for somebody. All right. Wow, I just feel like I'm flying through these and not really going too in depth into all this. Looking at my notes here if you're listening to the audio. But so as we're going to go through this, so we have the Beatitudes, and I'm not. The reason why I'm not spending a whole lot of time on this is because we kind of did already in Luke, and it's very similar. And so basically, it just says like, hey, the kingdom of heaven is for all of, like, here's who the kingdom of heaven is for. It's the Beatitudes. And so he kind of like gives us like this intro of like, all right, now this pretty much probably covers the whole crowd. So now everyone is like listening. And then Jesus goes into salt and light, and then he goes into, I am here to fulfill the law, not to get rid of it. And I find that very interesting. We'll get there. And then he goes into like murder, adultery, etc. One of the things that I want to spend time as we go through this Matthew account is, why did Jesus talk about all these in the specific order that he did? And so far, that is the question that we will be asking ourselves as we go through Sermon on the Mount. Why now mention this? So why now start with the Beatitudes? He's kind of giving us this list of the kingdom of heaven is for, like, this. Do you relate to any of this? If you do, you better listen. And then he goes into the salt and light. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt should lose its taste, how can it be made salty? It's no longer good for anything except for to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. And then let's just continue on with the light. He says, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket. Instead, they put it on like in a hill. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to their Father in heaven." So Jesus says, like, hey, if you're listening because the Beatitudes stuck out to you and there's something here, okay, now, if you listen to my words and you better apply them. Otherwise, you're like useless salt and you're light under a basket. It's useless. And so if you're about to hear everything I say and you're not going to choose to live this way, woe is you, basically. I wonder if that's where the woes come into play. I'm not really sure. But isn't that interesting to think about? So he says, like, here's the Beatitudes. Listen to this. And it goes into salt and light. He's like, now you better pay attention. Now you better be that salt. You better be that light. And then it goes into Christ fulfill the law. This is a great intro to like an authority statement. Don't think that I came to abolish the law of the prophets, or I came to fulfill it. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter, not the stroke of the letter will pass away from the law until all things are accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one at least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will never get into the kingdom of heaven. So we can spend another episode on that in more detail because I think there's a lot there. But the biggest takeaway that I really want to reflect on for this intro into Matthew and the Sermon on the Mount is he did not come to take the law and throw it out. He came to live it out perfectly because we never could. If you look through the whole kind of the transcript of the Bible, you have Jesus saying, God with his humanity, like, hey, here's God. He picks out like Abraham, Moses, David. I think it's kind of, you can go research this. I just don't have it at the top of my head. But he's consistently trying to be like, hey, here, he points what needs to happen so he can be reconnected back to his people, and they have to live a certain way and do certain things, and no one can do it perfectly. So then Jesus comes into it and says, I'm going to do it perfectly. He's going to fulfill the law. And the interesting thing is, once the law is fulfilled, it's like it's fulfilled. It's like if you place an order online. So like our apparel store, it might be released, it might not be yet. Turns out you got to wait for the IRS to do stuff, and it's very annoying. It really is a big setback. But if you go to revivebrand.com/store, you can see all of our gear there. We have a new apparel line called Follow Me to the King. That is going to be based off of the people that we host here as guests and share their story and their testimonies. Hopefully I get free gear to all of you who do that. Shoot, where did I go there? Oh, yeah, buy an apparel. And so revivebrand.com/store. Head there now, or after this episode, check it out, see if you can buy stuff. All sales tax is included, and there's a small shipping fee because I pay for it all on the back end, so you don't have to pay for the whole thing yourself. And it's my little way of trying to give you guys a little bit of discount on spending a little bit more money on higher-end items. Anywho, that little plug. But when you buy something online, we get a little notification on the back end that says, hey, order needs to be fulfilled. And I look at the order, but like, cool, someone ordered a hat, someone ordered a sweatshirt, someone ordered a t-shirt. And then the company that I do all the orders through, they make all the apparel, they make everything good, and then they say, boom, your order has been fulfilled and it has been shipped. And so then that order then goes down into the queue that says completed or fulfilled, and it's done. It's accomplished. And so I don't have to do it anymore. So that's what I'm seeing here is Christ did not come to take that order. I don't think order is a good word, but it's just go with the analogy. Christ came to take this order, and he came to fulfill the order. He came to do what needed to be done, so it can say, done, completed, accomplished. And he did not come to take that order and just be like, disregard, boop, delete bin. No, he didn't do that. He came to accomplish it. But now that it's accomplished, we don't have to live subject to all the laws. This is going to be very big and very key in this whole sermon, because he talks a lot of things in Jewish law: murder, adultery, giving, praying, second mile, telling the truth, loving your enemies. There's a lot here that's going to be tied into the law. And Jesus is coming and straight up, he's like, we're not disregarding the law. I have come to fulfill it, though. So things are going to be different after. That's what I'm taking from what I'm hearing right now. And that's where I want to be able to interpret this. Is like, cool, like, how did the Jews take this? Like, why did Jesus say what he did when he did? Then how did the Jews interpret it? And then how does it mean now that it's fulfilled? And one of the ones I want to really get into is giving. Like, be careful not to not practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward for your Father in heaven. See, that's like how to give. because the law was all about like tithing, and you got to tithe like 23% every 7 years, every 3 years, all this stuff. And then modern day, like we still do a lot of tithing, and I'm not against tithing. I think it's a good practice, but I don't know if it's as, I think it's treated a lot more legal law than maybe it should be. And that's an unpopular opinion. I am hands down all about generosity and giving. Tithing, we'll get there. We'll have a whole episode on tithing, and let's ruffle some feathers on that one, shall we? So make sure you come back for that. But murder and adultery, the Jews have rules and Jews have laws, and Jesus always takes things one step further. And so think about that. So as we get into this Sermon on the Mount here, and I hope you followed me for this whole time, we got the kingdom of heaven is for everybody. It's not just for the elite, and it's really going to stand out to those who are just craving the same things that God is craving, who has a poor spirit, a beggar's hand, saying, hey, my spirit is just in need. That is the posture you want to hold to understand who Jesus is, because then the kingdom of heaven is yours. And then so go grab your Bibles, read through adultery in Matthew 5. It's like the first 30 verses or something. Get through all that, and then join us next week, and as well unpack this even further, but you'll get to read it yourself. So the kingdom of heaven, who's it for? Salt and light. Okay, we're going to hear some words. Now we have to do something about it. We have to apply it. Or we are like salt trampled on the ground, useless. Or we're like a light hidden under a basket, useless. You have to apply what you learn. So here at Revived, we say redefine your culture. So if you you reclaim your identity. Hey, the kingdom of heaven is for me. I have that poor spirit. Give me the kingdom of heaven. Your identity is a child of God. Okay? Reclaim your identity. Now redefine your culture. We're going to learn in the Sermon on the Mount what it is to be a disciple of Christ, even further than we did with Luke. Loving your enemies. Don't judge people. Forgive and be generous to the biggest, fullest extent that you possibly can imagine. That's a baseline that we learned from Luke. And now we're going to take it even further into what is discipleship. The Sermon on the Mount is going to be, here's discipleship in my kingdom. Be the salt, be the light. Live what you're about to hear. It's important. But then also realize, this is where Jesus did not say, he did not take the Jewish law and everything and just throw it out the window. He accomplished it. He fulfilled it. So now, when it comes to the law, we don't have to get entangled in this law. There's no earning our way into heaven. There's no, got to obey the law, or you're going to get a ticket from the cops. No, it's different. There's a heart change. The Holy Spirit is living inside of us, gives us the power to do things. Otherwise, we couldn't be done. So we can be the salt. We can be the light, because the power of the Holy Spirit is inside of us to be different. Our insides are different when we ask Christ to fill our lives and we choose to follow him. We're filled with the Holy Spirit. So take all this into account. We're going to be going through the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew, and I hope you join us. It's going to be an amazing year. Head over to revivebrand.com/podcast, and there is a form there that I want you to fill out if you want to be a guest here and share your story. FMTTK. Follow me to the King. We have gear out there on the store for that, but that's going to be like the line. We can get you on here. You can hear the testimonies and what discipleship looks like in your life now, like through the season of like, when were you poor in spirit? When did you decide to give your life to Christ and to follow him? And what is that learning how to be a disciple? What has that journey been like for you? And how has that been? So just testimony, recording your testimony. And so we just want to share that with the world. And so if you have that, go ahead and sign up. I know I talked to a handful of you. If you have not yet gone to revivebrand.com/podcast and filled out that form, I'll love for you to do that just so I have a record of it. I know I texted and emailed a lot of you guys, and we're working on scheduling. But I'm super excited for where we're headed this year. Pray for big things. Our book is going to come out this year, and we're selling stuff, everything in between. You can tell my mind's spinning. Like, what is everything going on? I don't really know. But guys, we are really going to hammer on discipleship, redefining your culture. Like, the identity piece is pretty easy. Like, you got to just realize you're a child of God. But now, what does it look like to live different? And that's what we're going to focus on. I'm going to guide you to a legacy that matters, because legacy isn't the end. It's only the beginning. We say legacy as humans because we're dead. that kind of sounds kind of weird. But legacy is when you're dead, but legacy is also your starting point for eternity. And we want to go into our legacy, into eternity, knowing what it is like to live in the kingdom of heaven, because our spirits go on forever, our bodies die. But this can go on for a whole nother episode. But I'm so excited. Thanks for joining us. This is going to be an amazing 2025 with everyone here at Revived. Go ahead and share this podcast. And if you guys, whoever decides to message me and say, hey, I got this many people, maybe I'll do a promo. If you go ahead and share this podcast, or you just, or our Instagram, let's do Instagram. If I start getting followers on Instagram and you know who those followers are because it was your influence, message me, and maybe for the month of February, I will go ahead and just have a running contest, and whoever wins, getting me the most followers, I will throw free stuff from our store at you. Like, you can get Follow Me to the King gear, you can just get regular gear. But guys, these are like $50, $60, $70 shirts, okay? I will give the winner of whoever brings the most traffic in to the platform and followers on Instagram specifically, because we're not going to make things complicated. I will throw free merch your way. But so we can run that contest. If you listen to the episode this far, man, then kudos to you, because it's like that little fine print the teacher says, like, just write your name at the top and say, I read the instructions, and then you get a free A. You don't have to take the whole test. Anyway, I can ramble on forever. I love shooting these episodes. So look forward to going through the Sermon on the Mount with all of you and learning how to be a disciple, how to redefine our culture here at Revive. Take care.